If you were late joining in on that song, the lyrics are just wonderful and really speak to what we're going to be talking about today. You know, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. You know, we want to pray for peace, but we want peace in our hearts, peace for our land, and peace for all nations. And we're going to be making a statement for peace in a minute here. You'll see in your program there's a personal statement for peace. So be ready for that. We're going to say that together soon. But welcome, and let's start with our mission statement. To awaken, acknowledge, and nurture the divine in everyone. Okay, let's see. We're going to sing our thoughts, our prayers, and then we'll do our statement of peace.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, the tools that we create with. Our thoughts are prayers that spirit resonates with. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of mindfulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Divine loving spirit, divine intelligence, universe, all that is good, the one power, the one presence that is right here, right now, living as our experience of this now life. We say thank you. Thank you for bringing us all together. Thank you for each of us answering the call to be here, to worship together, to celebrate Source. And as we do that, we do so for the entire world. As we make a stand for peace within our hearts, we know that that reverberates throughout all lands. And so together, let us say our personal statement of peace. I stand for peace in the presence of conflict. I stand for love in the presence of hatred. I stand for forgiveness in the presence of injury. I honor the many names for God, the many paths to God, and the many ways to worship God. I believe there is only one power and presence of God, and that God loves each one of us equally. I turn to God for guidance during these challenging times. I urge all nations, their leaders, and their people to turn to God by whatever the name for guidance and to pursue peace, not war, for this is what honors the God of all faith traditions. I stand for peace in my lifetime. I know that God is in charge, and I am grateful. And so it is. Let's take this energy right into the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. All right, let us prepare for meditation by singing morning prayer, I Will Surrender.
I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am stronger every moment, every day. My mind is willing and my heart is open wide. I trust my instincts and let Spirit be my guide. I vow to live a life that's real and pure and free, as I continue walking in this mystery. I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am grateful every moment, every day. There may be walls, there may be roadblocks in my way, but I can choose to take a higher path each day. And now I know that what I thought was safe and sound was only habit and regret that held me down. I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am kinder every moment, every day. And I'm more loving every moment, every day. I will surrender every moment, every day.
I will surrender. I am surrendering, letting go. Letting go that is not all that is not serving me right now. My thoughts, my feelings, emotions, any sensations in my bodies. I let go of any attention to any of these things, as I know they are separate from me. They are not the highest truth of what I am. I am ready to take a step in pure faith into the vastness of my being. Focusing on my breath, I relax, I let go, I surrender to the moment. And I know that truly, right now, all is well. All is exactly as it should be. And so I am open. I am open to receiving divine word. And that word today is love. Love lifts me out of darkness. Repeat that in your mind's eye. Love lifts me out of darkness. Continuing to allow my words to be your words. I have an inborn connection to a loving God that can never be severed. While the experience of love as a human emotion can end, divine love is eternal. God is love, and this perfect love is part of my divine nature. I am able to access this love in every moment, regardless of where I am or what is happening around me. The poet Hafiz writes, I once asked a bird, how is it that you fly in this gravity of darkness? She responded, love lifts me. When I find myself feeling sad or discouraged, angry or afraid, I can turn to the one presence of love that is always available to comfort me. I can shift my focus from pain to love, knowing love is the foundation of all creation. In the darkest nights, I can allow love to lift me. And so right now, as I return my focus to my breath, I allow love. Breathing in life force energy right into the center of my heart. I experience love, and as I release my breath, I release all negative thought patterns. For I know they do not survive in love. Breathing in love and exhaling light that overshadows the darkness. Breathing in light and exhaling peace as it is alchemized in my heart. Let's all do that together for a moment. Breathing in the love that is in this room into the heart center, and on the releasing breath, know that it is alchemized as peace. In with love and out as peace. love, the foundation of all creation. And in this moment, we create peace. And so it is. How's everyone? Feeling peaceful? Good. All right, let's take a big breath in. Oh, yes. With that exhale, we say yes, yes, yes to this yes universe. Do that throughout your day, just breathing in the life that is all around you and exhaling yes. Because for today, we are talking about embracing possibilities. And those possibilities are everywhere present as source, as the divine ideas that come to us. When we are centered in our Christ consciousness, there is less of a filter between the divine ideas that come to us and our human condition that seems to taint them or bias those divine ideas. So taking those little moments throughout the day to focus on the breath is such a simple practice we can all do. Breathing in the life that is all around us and exhaling yes. So from the Gospel of John chapter 1, it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and apart from him nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of men." And then the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we saw his glory, glory as the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. Now the Word is the sound of creation, Om, the sound of the universe. The He being Christ consciousness, Logos, the Word, Om. You may choose any of these synonyms to plug into the scripture anywhere you hear he or him. The he or him is the Christ. And that Christ was born in consciousness at the beginning of everything, right? The beginning of time, the beginning of the universe, before all of that. Because really there is no beginning and there is no end in eternity, is there? The Alpha and the Omega are one, always. And so we're talking a little bit about, we're starting with consciousness today, because when we want to embrace our possibilities, we need to open ourselves up to those possibilities first and foremost. And so Roger Gabriel from the Chopra Center wrote an article, and he says, "Science tells us that the universe began with a Big Bang. Whereas Vedanta, which is Vedic wisdom, says that the Big Bang is actually a big Om, which didn't just happen once, it is ongoing. In fact, Vedic wisdom also understands that if the Om stopped for even a microsecond, the whole universe as we know it would disappear instantly. Om, or the word, rises from pure consciousness, which is primary and underlies all existence, constantly unfolding as our experience of the universe. He asks us to imagine, if you can, a time before the universe existed. Imagine a field of pure consciousness, an eternal silence. Not an empty silence, but one filled with pure potentiality, the potential for everything. At some point, pure consciousness decided it wanted to have an experience, but as nothing else existed, it could only experience itself. Because all experiences are based on contrast, pure consciousness had to move within itself to experience itself. So Roger Gabriel goes on to explain, he says, movement creates friction, and friction creates noise. So pure consciousness experiencing itself created a sound. However, pure consciousness, by definition, is silent. So this sound, which was Om, had to be forced out of the silence and became what we call conditioned consciousness. Om, or conditioned consciousness, is what we experience as the universe in which we live. Does that make sense? Conditioned consciousness is just how we gain awareness of ourselves, how we gain awareness of our own consciousness through the conditions that we create so that we can experience life, experience ourselves, and become aware of our consciousness. So it's the human condition, really. In other words, as pure consciousness, we have created separation. So now we're in the absolute realm, right? As pure consciousness, we created separation from ourselves. Let me go back to, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, right? That He is Christ consciousness. And that is the same Christ consciousness that we embody. So you can just as easily say we separated ourselves from pure potentiality so that we could have an experience of ourselves. So Om, or conditioned consciousness, is what we experience so that we can gain a better understanding of ourselves and grow in consciousness. So as we live, move, and have our being and our experience as being human in this universe, we still have access to that field of pure potentiality because that is our source. That is where we started. And by doing the work that needs to be done here in the earth plane, we can have that closer walk with God. By growing into an awareness that we are indeed one with God and one with one another, one with all peoples on the nation, and on and on and on. And that prepares us, that realization prepares us to receive our good. But we don't need to really understand all of this intellectually. Matter of fact, it's almost better if you don't understand it intellectually, because then we're just thinking, right? We're getting caught up in thoughts. And that's not an experience of Source. So just know that the chaos of the universe really is a pattern that repeats itself over and over again everywhere you look, in your own minds and in your hearts, in that relationship between mind and heart. There is a pattern that repeats, an eternal pattern. Everywhere you look, everywhere you go, every experience you have, when you come out of that experience and look at it from a higher perspective, there is something very big and important happening. And that something that is very big and important is you and your life and your imprint on race consciousness. And so it is a divine appointment when we come together and have these discussions and share our experiences with one another. It is very much a divine appointment. And it's a very important part of us all growing together in consciousness. So, if you believe that God is love and that you were created in the image of God, then please repeat after me. I am loved, loving, and lovable.
I am loved, loving, and lovable.
I am love.
I am love.
Love is what I am.
Love is what I am.
And that is your worth. So we'll say that is my worth, yes. I'm just telling you, that is your worth. And thank you so much. I appreciate that, Rick. Because we have to know that. We have to be able to, in order to embrace the possibilities, we have to know that we are deserving of them. Ugh. I mean, just imagine all that darkness coming out of your brain and your heart and your soul right now as you realize, I don't need any of those walls that I build around myself. I can get rid of that and experience myself as pure potentiality. And maybe not, it's all about sinking into that heart center where we commune with Source, right? Because in this place, we can only have that conditioned response. Being whatever your biases are, whatever that separation that you identify with between yourself and divine consciousness. So when we can let that go, when we all said that, and I'm still feeling a buzz over my crown chakra. There is a release of just, we don't need it. We don't need all those things that we put up, the barriers. We can just let that go and realize that we are worthy to step into our good, embracing all the possibilities that are around us. So back to the universe. As the initial vibration of Om emerges, now this again is from Gabriel from the Chopra Center. He says, as the initial vibration of Om emerges from the unmanifest, it diversifies into all the different vibrations of the universe, which manifest as the world we know. Om therefore contains within it all of the mantras, all of the sounds, all of the vibrations of the universe. Everything in the universe is a manifestation of Om, which is the human condition, right? That came from pure potentiality. And ultimately, it is a reflection of pure consciousness from which it emerged, he says. Om is the collective sound, the primordial sound. The secret doctrine of the Rosicrucians says the one becomes the many. Unity becomes diversity. The identical becomes variety, yet the many remains the one. The Gospel of John says the Word became flesh, which is manifest creation. In Egyptian literature, the Creator God pronounces the name of everything. Modern science tells us that the universe is expanding. Vedanta tells us that our consciousness or awareness expands as we grow toward enlightenment. That is the new evolution of humankind, right? The Quran states, and the heaven space we created with might, and indeed we are its expander. So we are the universe expanding. And you can look at that as literal, or you can look at that as the universe within, because both are happening simultaneously and both are true. Then he says, if, as Vedanta tells us, the universe is a projection of our consciousness, then the so-called expansion of the universe is contingent upon our spiritual growth. It's a symbiotic relationship. We must do the work that we are doing to grow in consciousness, because when we're not growing in consciousness, the universe stops expanding. How powerful are we? I mean, wow. We are, that is such a demonstration of how we are all one and at one with Source, the universe. Not just the physical universe, right? We're talking about both, really. We're talking about consciousness, but we're talking about the physical manifestation of that as well, which is good to know when we're talking about embracing possibilities, because sometimes we want those possibilities to come to us in physical form, don't we? So So that relationship is intimate. It is closer than the breath you breathe. And it is everywhere present. So divine mind cannot be accessed through the human mind, right? The human mind, we just think of it as the brain oftentimes, but really our bodies, especially our brains, are conduit for communication with Source, for communication with our own higher selves, which is just runs up the chain to Source. We are all channels. We can be channels of love, channels of peace, channels of consciousness. And when we stay centered in remembering that and really embodying that, there's no limit to what we can do. Mind, idea, expression. I should do that the other way. Mind, idea, expression. That is divine order that we're talking about also this month as one of our 12 powers. Mind, idea, expression. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And that Son is humankind. That Christ consciousness, that is the original divine idea. And this Trinity is really a loop. It's a if you think of it as a triangle, as in Trinity, it's one that is continuous. There are no holes in that triangle. They all relate to one another. They are all happening at the same time. Now imagine, if you're visual like me, now imagine this triangle, and now they're all happening, all aspects of the triangle are happening at one time, and then they swoosh right into the center, and it just becomes this vortex where possibilities reside. So it's an unending loop. It's the truth of how all creation is manifested, the process through which consciousness becomes aware of itself. And through the process, the universe is born into knowing itself. Planets and stars are aligned into constellations. All the chaos is settling into patterns now. Physical beings are brought up from the dust, and free will, which is a natural component of this process, helps us actually create that separation from pure potentiality to the human condition. Especially when it is aligned with both sides, pure potentiality, human condition. When those are aligned, free will becomes God's will, and God's will becomes our own free will. So again, just more basis for a life of unending potential that we have for ourselves here. So many master teachers, right, have come and gone on this earth plane. They have served as guideposts to light this path for us back to consciousness and awareness of consciousness. These teachers have come in many forms. Our master teacher, Jesus the Christ, the Buddha, and many, many others. They're the ones that oftentimes humankind has held as deities, but they're also the ones that walk among us, the angels, and those that have come to teach us our lessons, that we don't always think of them as angels, do we? Because sometimes we learn our lessons through challenges and through pain. And when we realize that these people that are bringing these challenges to us in our, human thinking, it's best if we step back, take a breath, and realize that no, these are our teachers. These are the ones that have contracted in to come tell us, learn forgiveness, learn patience. This is what you asked for. And so I have come here to give you that opportunity to practice forgiveness. Right? You know who they are. But there are so many methods that we have for attaining this awareness. many schools of thought on the planet from the beginning of humankind to now. And they all hold this secret knowledge that I am sharing with you today, that you already know, because it's really not a secret. It's the key that is locked within us, that we keep protected so that we can have this experience. But it is within us, and Jesus is the one that taught us how to pray in a way, in a positive manner, because that's one of the best ways that we can access these secrets. Jesus said, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believes on me, the works that I do, he shall do also. And greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father." Now, I'm sure we're all developed enough in our power of understanding not to fall into that all too common trap of thinking that that is a call out to all Christians and we're the chosen people. And if you're not Christian, sorry, you're just not on the right path. That's how a lot of people take that quote. But he that believes on me, the works that I do, shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. Metaphysically, it's a call to awaken to what we already are. And as we are on this path to the one true source, to know that source more fully, and to know that source as the one presence that allows us to know our true potentiality, because I go unto my Father refers to one source, not one path. There are many paths to the one. We know that, and we celebrate that. We celebrate that diversity. Jesus taught us to pray with a consciousness of gratitude. What possibilities are we missing when we forget to be grateful? He gave thanks for abundant bounty before breaking bread to feed the 5,000. From Matthew chapter 14, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied. So Jesus demonstrates gratitude. Then he washes the fruits of his gratitude in the 12 powers by giving them to the 12 disciples. The fruits of our labors, love, deeper relationships, healing for the planet, peace, all must go through those 12 powers to be demonstrated in the world. And this is a natural process. When we do the inner work that needs to be done, we are automatically developing our 12 powers. And so as we do that, our prayers can become more and more powerful and more effective, because the clearer we get, the fewer biases and judgments and all of the filters that we have in our human condition, those decrease, and our word, our spoken vibration, has more power because we're coming from a clearer place. And so those 12 powers are developing. We speak our word, and our thoughts are prayers, right? So what possibilities do you want to embrace today? We're coming up on World Peace Day next Saturdays, and so Peggy has graciously loaned us her peace pole that you see here on the altar. You're going to want to come up and give this a good thorough look-see, because it's got 4 sides, and there's multiple languages on here that all make a statement for peace. And so repeat after me. I am peace. I am at one with all life. And that is the truth of my being. Yes. The truth is that thoughts are prayers, right? Our thoughts are prayers. And there's no higher action than a prayer. So let's pay attention to what we're praying for. Let's pay attention to our thoughts. And then when our thinking is right, we will be guided to right action. In his book, A Closer Walk with God, Unity Minister Jim Rose Murgy says that prayer is a mystery and will continue to puzzle us until it is no longer an attempt to have God serve us. Prayer is a mystery and will continue to puzzle us until it is no longer an attempt to have God serve us. Reverend Jim points out that we persist in asking God to come down and repair our human world. When we talk to God as if some outside entity can come down here and fix everything, then we're anthropomorphizing God. We're creating God in our image, like a mighty father figure who can clean up the mess that we've made and kiss the boo-boo and make everything better. It's kind of the habit that we've gotten into when it comes to prayer. We're asking from a place of not realizing our own worth. And the truth is that when we connect to our divinity, we can heal ourselves. And since we are all connected in the oneness of God, then when one of us is healed, we are all healed. Prayer isn't the easy answer. And as people of action, it certainly isn't the answer we want to hear. But it is the work that needs to be done by each of us. So when I'm talking about prayer as the work that needs to be done by each of us, I'm referring back to our thoughts are prayers, and what are my thoughts telling me about me, and what can I learn about myself, what can I shine light on to heal and release in divine order. It is all good. It is all for us. Nothing is against us. A place of power, a place of standing in your power is to know that this third plane condition that we have created for ourselves is for us. It is for us to realize our power, to experience ourselves, to bring pure potentiality down into our human condition and express in the world for healing. So I am at peace, I am one with all life, and this is the truth of my being. So this morning we've talked about our power in Christ consciousness as co-creators of and as the universe with the power of the Word. We've affirmed ourselves in the image of God as love, and we've affirmed that we are a stand for peace. And this is the basis for demonstrating divine potential in our lives and in the world. And so now, what possibilities are you willing to step into for yourselves? Hold that question for yourself today when you go throughout the day. What possibility am I willing to step into? What possibility am I willing to embrace? Thank you. We've got a song, Make Me a Channel of Your Peace, that you have the lyrics for.
Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon knows.
cute kids, very talented. Okay, how's everyone doing? Good, okay. I invite you now to gather your tithes and your love offerings so that we can hold them together and bless them together. Let's say our blessing together.
What do I want? What do I desire? What will bring me to my highest good? What do I want? What do I desire? What will bring me to my highest good? Prosperity, prosperity, I claim it, I claim it. Abundance, abundance is mine, is mine. Love, love flows through me, flows through me. I feel joy, I feel joy all the time, all the time. I can have it, I can have it. I deserve it, I deserve it. I claim it, I claim it. It is mine, it is mine. I can have it, I can have it. I deserve it, I deserve it. I am it, I am it. It is mine, it is mine. Peace, peace fills my heart, fills my heart. I surrender, I surrender everything, everything. Health, health is my birthright, is my birthright. Passion, passion helps me sing, helps me sing. I can have it, I can have it. I deserve it, I deserve it. I claim it, I claim it. It is mine, it is mine. I can have it, I can have it. I deserve it, I deserve it. I am it, I am it. It's my time, it's my time. Break it on down. Anything I want, anything I desire, anything that brings me to my highest good. Anything I want, anything I desire, anything that brings me to my highest good. I release, and let go, I accept, what is mine, I can have, what I want, and let spirit, direct the flow. Life is good, life is fun, life is great, this song is done.
Okay, I invite you one more time to bring your attention up to the front as we bless the gifts that have been given. We give thanks, for we know that as we give, so do we receive. It is all an endless bounty, a pattern of eternity, a give and a flow, a take and a release, and it is all in divine order, and it is all good. And so we give thanks for knowing that we have the power to step into this flow as we choose, and we claim it as ours. And so it is.